Hello, curious minds. Welcome to today's adventure, a story where suspense, language, and learning come together. But wait, this isn't just a story. It's a learning experience. In this video, not only will we dive into a gripping tale of mystery and suspense, but I'll also help you improve your English along the way. Throughout this video, I'll point out key vocabulary, phrases, and expressions that will help you build your English skills. We'll go through interesting words, tricky phrases, and sentence structures, so by the end of the story, you'll be learning without even realizing it. Ready to improve your English while enjoying a thrilling story? Let's begin. Tonight, we follow Nora, a woman who receives a mysterious letter, but is she prepared to face the consequences? It was just past midnight when Nora found herself standing at the entrance of the old mansion, its towering silhouette casting long, eerie shadows under the faint glow of the crescent moon. The wind whispered through the trees, but in the distance she thought she heard something more: footsteps. She brushed the feeling aside, trying to convince herself that her nerves were playing tricks on her. Nora had been invited to the mansion by a mysterious letter that arrived at her doorstep a week ago. The note was simple: "Come alone. Tonight. It's time you learned the truth." There was no signature, just a wax seal with a strange emblem she had never seen before. Her curiosity had gotten the better of her. She couldn't resist. The mansion had been abandoned for years, its darkened windows and broken gates a testimony to time's toll. But tonight, the door stood ajar, as though waiting for her. She stepped inside cautiously, the floorboards creaking beneath her weight. The air was thick with dust and the scent of something long forgotten. "Nora," a voice murmured from the shadows. She froze, her heart pounding. She wasn't sure if it was the wind or something, or someone else. The voice seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. Slowly she turned her head, but there was no one there. The only movement was the flickering of an old chandelier overhead, casting a dim light across the grand hall. "Who's there?" she called out, trying to sound braver than she felt. The voice didn't answer, but she felt its presence more strongly now, like a heavy weight pressing against her chest. It beckoned her forward, deeper into the house. Her feet moved against her will, carrying her through the vast, dusty corridors, past faded portraits and forgotten relics. She hadn't even noticed how the air grew colder, how the silence wrapped around her like a suffocating blanket. All that mattered now was the pull she felt, the desire to uncover the truth. She reached the library, its enormous wooden doors creaking open at her touch. Inside, the room was filled with shelves stacked high with ancient books. In the center of the room, however, stood something far more unsettling. A large, ornate mirror, its surface gleaming as if it had been recently polished. "Come closer," the voice whispered again, this time more urgent. Nora hesitated, but the draw of the mirror was overwhelming. She stepped closer, her reflection appearing to flicker in the glass as if it were not quite hers. Something wasn't right. Her heartbeat quickened, and she reached out a trembling hand to touch the surface. The moment her fingers made contact, the world around her seemed to shift. The room around her blurred, the walls stretching, the floor tilting. Before she could react, the mirror seemed to pull her in, dragging her forward with an unseen force. She gasped, unable to break free, as the world she knew dissolved into blackness. When Nora opened her eyes again, she was no longer in the mansion. She found herself standing in a dark, foggy street. The buildings around her were unfamiliar, modern, sleek, and towering. But the fog obscured everything beyond a few meters, leaving her disoriented. She tried to move, but her feet felt heavy, as though the ground beneath her wasn't solid. Nora. The voice was louder now, almost tangible. It came from behind her. Spinning around, she saw a figure standing in the distance, shrouded in the mist. Her heart skipped a beat. She couldn't make out the person's features, but something about their presence felt strangely familiar. "Who are you?" Nora demanded, her voice shaky but defiant. The figure stepped forward, slowly, deliberately. As it neared, Nora's breath caught in her throat. The person was wearing a suit, but their face was obscured by a mask, a blank, expressionless mask that seemed to stare directly at her, its eyes hollow. "You've been waiting for this moment," the figure said, its voice strangely calm. "The truth you sought has always been within reach." Nora's mind raced. She had no idea what the figure was talking about, but the sense of danger was palpable. Her instincts screamed at her to run, but her body wouldn't obey. The figure reached up, slowly removing the mask. Nora's heart pounded in her chest as the face beneath the mask was revealed. Her own face. A mirror image. It took a moment for her to process the shock, the horror, but the words tumbled out before she could stop them. "How is this possible? Who are you?" The figure, her own reflection, smiled a cold, knowing smile. "The truth, Nora. You've been searching for answers your whole life, but the answer was always here. In you." Nora's mind reeled as the pieces began to fall into place. The mysterious letter. The mansion. The mirror. She had been chosen, no, trapped, by something far beyond her understanding. The figure before her was not some stranger but a part of herself, a reflection of a truth she hadn't wanted to face. "You were always destined to come here," the reflection continued. "The mansion was never abandoned. It was waiting for you to return, to remember." Nora's world spun as the realization hit her. The truth was now clear, but the weight of it crushed her chest. The mansion, the mirror, the voice, it had all been part of a path leading her to this moment. She had uncovered the truth, but it was a truth she couldn't escape. And so, Nora stood in the fog, trapped in a place where time no longer mattered, waiting for the truth to consume her, knowing there was no way out, because she had already been there all along. End of this video. Learn some important phrasal verb and difficult words. Phrasal verbs. Brush aside. To ignore or dismiss something, especially a feeling or thought. Get the better of. To overcome or control something, like curiosity or fear. Step inside. To enter a place. Call out. To speak loudly, usually to attract attention. Break free. To escape or free oneself from something that is holding them back. Draw forward. To attract or pull someone towards something. Difficult words. Eerie, strange and frightening. Testimony, evidence or proof of something, in this case, of time's passage. Ajar, slightly open. Relics, objects from the past, often of historical or cultural interest. Flickering, shining with an unsteady light. Tangible, perceptible by touch, able to be touched or felt. Defiant, showing resistance or bold disobedience. Palpable, something so intense it can almost be physically felt. shrouded, covered or concealed, obscured, blocked from view, hidden, reeled, felt disoriented or confused, sympathetically, with understanding and compassion, echoing, repeating or reverberating, often in a way that is lingering.